taking the front drive shaft out. You have 4 11mm bolts that hold these. Some people call them saddles, some call them retainer clips. 4 bolts, take those out. Okay, now we're on the back drive shaft. Same way with the front, you have 4 11mm bolts that hold them saddles or retainer clips, whatever you want to call them. Pull those out. Okay, now we're going to take the nuts off on the mount. Look up through this hole on your cross member. Okay, so you have 2 18mm nuts. All right, so Dad was a little bit late getting to the party when I was pulling this out, so I've already pulled the transmission plug. You'll see it right here, it's a 10mm. And any tools that we use throughout this is in a product link below. Make sure you click on that and see what tools we use to do this job. Okay, so the next step we're gonna do is we're just gonna spray some of this deep creep all over the exhaust nuts and anywhere that we see rusted bolts. That way they're easier to get off while I'm pulling this cross member out and the transfer case, okay? And don't forget, just kind of spray some up there on the dowel pins. It's good to have them dowel pins soaking while you're working on everything behind the transmission, okay? Okay, now we're going to jack the transmission up. That will get the weight off of your cross member so you can pull it out. You'll have 13/16 or 21mm bolt and nut, and there's 4 of them. Okay, so we went to put the 13/16 on this side and it didn't really want to fit, so 21 on the nut and 13/16 on the bolt. Or 21 on both would probably work. Okay, that always good practice. Just go ahead and put your nut back on there, that way you don't lose it. Pro tips. Next, we're going to take off the transmission mount. You have 2 15mm bolts. Okay, so we're back on the drive shafts again. We're going to pop them out. I've seen guys hit these with hammers. I don't recommend that you hit them with a hammer because you can dent where that U-joint goes in. And if you ever need to replace them, they'll be a pain in the butt to get out. Just stick a screwdriver or something in between it and pop it out like that. Okay. Okay, so now we're up here on the front drive shaft. On the transfer case, you'll see that it's got this band clamp holding. We're going to just kind of stick a screwdriver up in between there and pry on it and try not to damage the boot. All right, we're just going to stick this up in here, kind of work it, and turn your drive shaft. Just kind of work it around. Then they don't want to put a new one back on. How's it supposed to hold if you don't have it on there? All right, so we got it over that lip. We're ready to pop the front out. You're gonna push it up, over. You pop it up over the front differential, slide it forward, and then you'll bring it back under your transfer case. Now we're up on the passenger side of the transmission. We're going to remove this heat shield. You have 3 10mm bolts. You have one up on top pointing down. You have one in the middle going into the side of the transmission, and then the one on the back up here pointing down just like the one in the front. Getting this heat shield out here, you see how those 10mm bolts go through the top. Okay, now we're back here on the transfer case. You have 3 plug-ins. Yeah. Gray clip pops out, you push in and slide the clip out just like Dad's struggling to. I feel like I fought with this on the last one. I did. Same plug. Right out there. Alright. Same way with the big gray plug on top. I'm gonna slide this gray up, push in, and pops out. Third one's a little bit different. It's got a clip on the outside. You just lift up on this little tab and slides up. Okay, on top of that transfer case, you can see you have this gray electrical holder on that bracket. We're just gonna stick this little fork tool up in there. If you need one of these tools, they're in our YouTube description. Handy little guys to have. I use them a lot. Just pop it. Just work it up out of there. Pull all your wiring down to the side. That way it's out of your way and you know you have everything disconnected. We have your vent tube on the transfer case. Just gonna pop that out. Okay, before we start pulling that transfer case, the shift cable runs over top of it, and I like to have everything out of the way before I drop that transfer case. You have 2 Torx 40. We like to take the bolts out and not the clip. That way we don't take a chance on damaging anything there. These bolts, usually when you break them loose, you can take them out with your fingers. After you take the 2 bolts out, move it all the way to low, then you can break that 15mm nut loose. Okay, you got your 15mm nut. Break it loose. These you just kind of work them back and forth and they'll pop it. I like to get the shift cable completely out of my way. I don't want to take any chances when I drop the transfer case or transmission on hitting and damaging anything on that cable. So I just move them back here out of the way. Okay, we're back here on the transfer case. I'm going to be using 2 different size 15mm. I'm going to be using a short 15 ratchet wrench and a long 15. On the top nut, I'll be using a 15mm shorty. You're going to need one to take that top bolt out because you can't get a long wrench up in there. Click on the link below. We got this in there if you need one. There is 6 15mm nuts going around on the transfer case. Can y'all hear me? What we're going to do? Oh. Just stick a big bar up in here. All right, next up, we're dropping the exhaust. You have 3 15mm exhaust nuts on each side. driver and passenger. Both sides have an exhaust gasket, okay? See how smooth that came off? Deep Creek, it works. All right, we're over here to the passenger side. Passenger side nuts on these vehicles are a little bit tougher than driver side, even though that one didn't seem like it. I'm gonna need a longer extension. Got all 6 of them nuts out. We're going to start unplugging the wiring harnesses. We have an exhaust clamp back here. I don't believe that this is factory bolted. I think somebody's had this off before. So we're going to take that out. Take that bolt out. Just kind of spread that out and move it back. That way it can come apart and slide down out of there easily. We need to unhook the oxygen sensors. Alright, you got 4 oxygen sensors. Somebody's had these off before. Usually that little clip on the rail there holds it, but you'll push up on this white tab and you'll push in on it. And it pops right loose. I'll show you again on this one up here. Well, somebody's had it off and put a wire tie around it to hold it together. One of the hardest parts of mechanics is going around other people's work. On the wire cutters. Okay, we're going to drop this exhaust down. We got our transmission jacked up. You'll move it back. We got to break this loose first. And that is tight. Gonna get us a rubber mount. Gonna get us a rubber mount. All right, so these tend to kind of seize up going around where that exhaust clamp is. So you just take a rubber mallet and kind of tap on it a little bit until it breaks loose. There it went. Move that out of the way. And you'll slide your exhaust back. A little tight. Did you get it? There it went. Yep, just kind of pushed up on that and it all came loose. Move it over the side. Drop it out like that. And you'll see right here, that's a gasket, that little ring right there. And the other one has a donut gasket on the driver's side. Make sure you don't lose those. It'll be loud if you do. So these are different from the 6L80s. The 8L90s have a different plug. You'll push out on this red tab, which will put clearance on the inside right here where you can push the black part in. See how it pops up? you'll push in and push up, and it will release itself. Now you might have some road dust or dirt up in there, maybe a little tight. You just kind of work it back and forth and it'll come out of there. Okay, so now we're up here on the passenger side of the transmission. We're going to remove the starter so that we can get to the torque converter bolts. You'll want to remove this little 10mm bolt that's holding the heat shield on the starter, and then you'll have you'll want to remove this 10mm bolt out of the dust plate from the starter, and then you'll remove the two 13mm starter bolts. Alright, so we're going to remove the 10mm bolt from the heat shield on the top of the starter, and the 10mm bolt on the dust plate that goes around the starter. And the reason you want to remove the one off the heat shield on top of the starter is so that it'll go back far enough so you have plenty of room to get them torque bolts out of there. Okay. Now I'm pulling out the starter bolts. You have two of them. And guys, make sure before you start on this project that you remove your battery cables. Okay, just kind of work with that starter, getting it back. Don't pry on things too hard. You don't want to take a chance on breaking any sensors or anything back in there. It kind of just falls down out of your way like that. Okay, before we start trying to pull these torque converter bolts out, you'll want to remove this little dust cover on the bell of the transmission. That gives you access to the flex plate to where you can turn it. You'll stick a screwdriver up in there. Let's see how I can turn it either way you want to get to move that flex plate around to get them torque converter bolts lined up where you can get them out of there. Okay, so we got 6 15mm bolts that hold these torque converters in. They're not like the other Chevy 1500s. They only have 3. The 8L90s have 6 torque converter bolts. I like using a short 15mm socket to get those out with. Use a long one. They usually tend to strip over the top. The short ones work the best. Okay, so I have all the torque converter bolts out, but a way to double check on that is just reach up through here and spin that torque converter. See how it's free? That means we got all the bolts out of it. So on the 8L90, you'll have 2 13mm nuts. You'll have one on the very top and one on the top left hand side or driver's side to take off. You won't have one for a filler tube because they don't have a filler tube on the 8L90s. You have this little plastic holder. Let's try to get a screwdriver up in there or something, kind of pop that off there so you can get to that 13mm nut. There we go. Top. And I'm using a 13mm deep swivel socket. I'll be using a 15 deep swivel socket on the bolts, the bell bolt. And now you'll have, better remove that 10mm bolt. Okay, so the 13mm nut up there holds your fuel lines on, but so does this bracket here. So we're going to remove this 10mm bolt. And while I got this attachment on here, we're going to take this little 10mm boat, little side cover. And we'll show you here in a minute why we take this little cover off. Alright, now we're going to remove the 13mm nut that holds the fuel lines. How's it going? You just want to pull these fuel lines back and just kind of shove them up to where you can get to that 15mm boat underneath of the bracket. We'll go ahead and pull that off. Just gonna shove up on these fuel lines. Yeah, there we go. And that's a 15mm deep socket, okay? We're going to remove this top bracket. Just pull it off, pull it down here out of the way. Then you got a 15mm boat underneath of it. Go ahead and pull it out. Some lines, there's a bracket here that holds them. You're going to take that out. And then you're going to take your lines loose so that you can get to the 15mm boat on the other side. Now make sure that you have a pan or a bucket ready for when you take these lines loose, because you are going to lose some fluid. Okay, so you have a 13mm boat that holds a block on. We saved this for last because we don't want fluid dripping on us or spilling everywhere while we're working on this vehicle. This one didn't leak much fluid out of it. Okay, so we got the thermostat cooler block off. That gives us access to this bottom boat on the transmission bell. Take it out. We're going to take one of the bolts off of each side. Go to the other side. Okay, we're going to let this truck down onto our jack. We're going to take the last two bolts out, and hopefully that deep creep done its work. And the bell is easy to break loose from the engine. All right, we're going to take the last two bolts out of the bell. Bell housing. And now we're ready to try to break this transmission loose from the engine. Okay, so remember earlier when I said that we needed to take that little dust cover off the side on the driver's side? The reason is because you can, once that's off, you can get a big screwdriver in between there, or a pry bar, and you can pry that transmission loose in between. And we'll go to the other side and go up through where the starter hose at. It's a little tight. Deal. There it goes. So you got it to turn. It looks like a dowel pin is pulling out of the engine instead of the transmission. So it's can you get it in there? Oh. Okay, we're dropping this transmission down. Make sure everything's out of the way. Make sure you don't catch nothing on the way down, like your lines or anything. You don't want to bend those up. Guys, this is how you remove an 8L90. This is CODEMANSAUTO. Thanks for watching.